The afternoon sunlight streaming through the large glass windows of Clarksdale Union Bank bathed Melissa Brooks' desk in a golden glow. She looked up from the loan application in front of her and gazed out at the pastoral Mississippi landscape. In the distance, she could see her family farm where she had grown up. Memories of her childhood spent on that farm occasionally floated into her mind. "Melissa, have you finished reviewing the Johnson couple's loan application?" The voice belonged to Robert Carter, the head of the loan department. Though his tone was gentle, his gaze was sharp. "Yes, it's almost complete. I believe their ranch expansion plan is feasible. Their repayment history is impeccable," Melissa answered confidently. "As expected. I'm proud to have a loan manager like you at our bank," Robert said. Melissa smiled back at his praise. In the 10 years since joining Clarksdale Union Bank, she had earned the deep trust of local farmers and business owners. Her knowledge and experience were especially valued in agricultural loans, partly because of her own farming background. She had recently heard her name mentioned as a candidate to lead the new agricultural loan division the bank was planning. As Melissa drove to her family farm after work, vast cornfields illuminated by the setting sun greeted her. The Brooks farm had been the family's pride for 4 generations, but now her mother Eleanor was managing it alone. "I'm home," Melissa called as she opened the old farmhouse door, and Eleanor's voice answered from the kitchen. "Welcome home, Melissa. Vanessa is coming tonight too." When Melissa entered the dining room, her mother Eleanor was preparing dinner. Her hair, now streaked with gray, was tied back, and she held a kitchen knife in her hand. She couldn't hide her fatigue anymore. "Vanessa is coming." "That's unusual," Melissa remarked, noticing that the wrinkles on her mother's profile had increased. "Yes," she said, "she has good news." Just then, the front door swung open forcefully, and Melissa's sister Vanessa appeared. Unlike Melissa, Vanessa had a flashy style and outgoing personality. "Good evening, sis. It's been a while." Vanessa rushed over to Melissa and hugged her. Vanessa's face had a radiant glow, as if something wonderful had happened. She had majored in business in college, but hadn't found stable work after graduation and had already moved through 3 different workplaces. The last Melissa had heard, Vanessa was working at a local cafe, but perhaps she had already left that job too. "What are you so happy about today?" Melissa asked. "Well, I have an interview for a new job." Vanessa exclaimed excitedly. "That's wonderful. What kind of job?" "Still a secret," Vanessa answered with a wink. As the 3 of them sat around the dinner table, their conversation continued. Eleanor sighed and began to speak. "To be honest, managing this farm is getting harder year by year. My back hurts, and I might be reaching my limit trying to do it alone. Let me know if there's anything I can help with, Mom," Melissa said. "I don't just need help, I want someone to properly take over the farm," Eleanor said, looking directly at Melissa. "You grew up on this farm and know—"
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Candlelight Stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
"The land well. Wouldn't you consider coming back someday?" Melissa hesitated. While she sometimes felt nostalgic for life on the farm, she was passionate about her work at the bank. She found great fulfillment in helping clients realize their dreams. "Mom, I love my job at the bank. A big project is about to start." "I understand, Melissa," Eleanor gently squeezed her daughter's hand. "But please think about it. Hey, if Big Sister came back to the farm, I could try something else," Vanessa teased. "You were always so good with the cows." Melissa smiled wryly. It was true that she had been good at taking care of livestock when she was young. But now, she had goals at the bank. After dinner, as Melissa was helping her mother in the kitchen, Eleanor quietly spoke to her. "I know you have your own life. But this farm is the Brooks family legacy. It's precious land that has been passed down through generations." Melissa continued wiping dishes in silence. In her heart, her love for her family conflicted with her passion for her career. Looking out at the twilight fields through the window, she gave an ambiguous reply. "I'll think about it, Mom." Monday morning, Melissa arrived at work earlier than usual. She needed to do a final check on the major agricultural loan presentation she had been working on since last week. As she walked to her desk, she exchanged greetings with her colleagues. However, their expressions seemed strangely confused. "Good morning, Katie. Is something wrong?" Melissa asked her colleague at the next desk. Katie bit her lip in concern and answered in a low voice, "I think you should hear this directly. Robert is waiting for you in his office." Feeling anxious, Melissa headed to Robert Carter's office. When she knocked on the door, she heard a "come in" from inside. Entering the office, she found Robert looking at her with a complex expression. There was a piece of paper on his desk. "Melissa, please sit down," Robert said calmly. "You've submitted your resignation." I was surprised. Melissa doubted her ears for a moment. "What do you mean? I haven't submitted any resignation." "But on Friday afternoon, a resignation letter came from you by email," Robert pointed to the paper on the desk. Indeed, there was a resignation letter with Melissa's name signed on it. "I didn't write this." Melissa picked up the paper in shock. The signature was cleverly imitated, but it wasn't hers. "Someone impersonated me." Robert frowned. "So you're saying this was forged?" "Yes, absolutely. I have no intention of leaving the bank. In fact, I'm fully committed to the agricultural loan division project right now." Robert sat back deeply in his chair, looking thoughtful. "I see. I'll contact the IT department to investigate the source of that email." Various questions raced through Melissa's mind. Who had impersonated her to send a resignation letter? What was their purpose? "Anyway, please continue your work as usual today. I'll investigate this matter," Robert told her. A few hours later, Robert came to Melissa's desk. "We had the IT department trace the IP address of the email, but unfortunately, they couldn't identify it. However, we know it was sent at 6:30 p.m. on Friday." Melissa tried to remember Friday evening. "At that time, I was already back at home." After finishing work, Melissa hurried home. Something was wrong. Her intuition sensed something ominous. When she arrived at the farm, her mother Eleanor was preparing dinner in the kitchen. Surprisingly, Vanessa was also there helping her. "Mom, Vanessa, I need to ask you something," Melissa asked with a serious expression. "Did anyone use my name to do something?" Eleanor and Vanessa exchanged glances. In that brief moment, Melissa realized something. "Did something happen?" Eleanor asked casually. "When I went to the bank today, I found out that a resignation letter had been submitted in my name. But I never submitted such a thing." A heavy silence filled the room. Eventually, Eleanor sat down and sighed. "It seems it's time to tell you," Eleanor said quietly. "Vanessa applied for a position at Clarksdale Union Bank. For her to be hired, you needed to resign." Melissa stared at her mother in disbelief. "What do you mean? Why would I need to resign for Vanessa to be hired?" Vanessa stepped forward with a slightly defiant smile. "It's for the position in the new agricultural loan division that the bank is launching. I heard you were a candidate, so I applied too. But they can't hire two people from the same family, can they? So you forged my resignation letter." Melissa's voice trembled. "Yes," Vanessa shrugged. "Taking care of cows suits you better," she said in a light tone, but there was a sting to her words. Eleanor intervened. "Melissa, you've worked at the bank for 10 years. Isn't it time you came back to this farm? Vanessa needs a new opportunity." Melissa's chest filled with anger and a sense of betrayal. Her family was trying to casually take away the career she had built with sweat and tears. "Don't decide my life for me." Melissa raised her voice. My career belongs to me. No one has the right to trample on it. But we're family, Eleanor pleaded. Don't family members sometimes make sacrifices for each other? This isn't a sacrifice, Mom. This is theft, Melissa said with a shaking voice. Using my name to submit a false resignation letter is illegal. You're being dramatic, Vanessa scoffed. Just go to the bank tomorrow and submit your resignation officially. My interview is on Wednesday. Melissa was speechless. Her family hadn't considered her feelings at all. They didn't understand how passionate she was about her work at the bank, how much that career had become part of her identity. I'm leaving, Melissa said quietly. Where are you going? Eleanor asked worriedly. To a friend's house. I don't want to stay here tonight. Melissa packed necessary belongings from her room and left the house without saying goodbye to her mother and sister. As she drove, tears welled up in her eyes. The pain of being betrayed by the family she trusted was deeper than she had imagined. When she arrived at her friend Jessica's house, Melissa confessed everything. Jessica listened to her story with an indignant expression. It's clear they've broken the law, Jessica said. Forgery is a crime. You should take legal action. Melissa gazed out the window. Rain had begun to fall. I can't sue my family, she said quietly. But they're trying to destroy your career. Melissa took a deep breath. I'll go to the bank tomorrow and tell the truth. And then I'll think about what to do next. That night, Melissa spent a sleepless night on her friend's sofa. Listening to the rain hitting the window, she was filled with anxiety about what tomorrow would bring. The next morning, Melissa woke up early. The morning sun shining through the window of Jessica's guest room seemed to strengthen her resolve. Good morning, Jessica was brewing coffee when Melissa entered the kitchen. Did you sleep well? Thank you. A little, Melissa smiled, but her eyes couldn't hide her fatigue. What are you going to do today? I'm going to the bank and tell Robert the truth, Melissa said with determination. My career belongs to me. I don't want my mother and sister to ruin it. Jessica hugged her friend's shoulders. You'll be fine. You're doing the right thing. When Melissa arrived at Clarksdale Union Bank, she took a deep breath and headed straight to Robert's office. It was time for the morning meeting, but this was an issue that couldn't wait. Robert, could I have a moment? Melissa knocked on the door. Robert looked up from his meeting materials and beckoned to Melissa when he saw her. Come in. I was just thinking about you. Melissa entered the office and closed the door. I must tell you the truth about yesterday's resignation letter. Let's hear it. Robert sat back deeply in his chair. That resignation letter was sent by my sister. She forged it using my name, Melissa said in one breath. My sister Vanessa has apparently applied for a position at the bank. Vanessa Brooks, Robert frowned. In fact, her application has already arrived at the HR department. Because your resignation came in so suddenly, her interview is already scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Melissa was surprised. That quickly? We're in a hurry to launch the agricultural loan division. If you were leaving, we would need a replacement right away, Robert said. But if you don't want to resign, that's a different story. Melissa explained the details. How her mother and sister had conspired to sacrifice her career to get her sister a job. How it was a strategy to make her take over the farm. Robert's expression gradually hardened. This is a serious issue. The forgery of your name could become a legal matter. I understand, Melissa said quietly. But that's not all. Robert stood up and moved to the window. There's something you don't know. Melissa leaned forward anxiously. What is it? I've highly valued you since you joined. Your knowledge of agricultural loans is deeper than any other banker in this region. That's why I nominated you as a candidate for director of the new agricultural loan division. Director? Melissa gasped. Yes. The salary will increase significantly. Your combination of farm knowledge and banking experience is a valuable asset to us. Robert looked directly at Melissa. And the position your sister Vanessa has applied for is precisely that director position. Various thoughts raced through Melissa's mind. Did her sister know something about her promotion? Is that why she tried to push her out? There's one more thing I need to tell you. Robert's voice suddenly became stern. When I saw your sister's name, something bothered me. I had HR investigate and, it turns out Vanessa Brooks previously worked at Frontier Community Bank, our sister company. What? Melissa was surprised. She had never heard that her sister had worked at Frontier Bank. And she caused problems there. She leaked customer information without authorization and was fired. Melissa was speechless. The room seemed to spin around her. I had no idea. You didn't know because someone was hiding it from you, Robert said gently. Your mother and sister seem to be conspiring to destroy your career. And they haven't told you the truth. Melissa sank deep into her chair. Her family's betrayal was deeper than she had imagined. Her heart was filled with confusion and anger. Melissa, Robert came in front of her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I support you. Your resignation is invalid. And if you wish, the director position is still yours. Thank you. Melissa said, fighting back tears. And don't worry, Robert smiled. I'll handle Vanessa's interview personally. I intend to question her properly about her past. After leaving the bank, Melissa sat in her car for a long time. Various thoughts swirled in her mind. Her sister had committed misconduct at Frontier Bank. Her mother had hidden it. And they had conspired to destroy her career. Her phone rang. Looking at the screen, she saw it was from her mother. After hesitating, Melissa answered. Melissa, where are you? I've been worried. Eleanor's voice was mixed with concern. At the bank, Mom, Melissa answered calmly. Did you submit your resignation? No. Actually, I'm scheduled to be promoted to director. Silence flowed from the other end of the phone. I see, congratulations, Eleanor's voice sounded weak. Mom, why didn't you tell me that Vanessa was fired from Frontier Bank? Another long silence. How did you? That's not the important part, Mom. Why did you hide it? I wanted to protect her, Eleanor finally said. She made a mistake, but she's suffered enough. She needed a new chance. So you tried to sacrifice my career? Melissa's voice shook with anger. You can always find a job. But Vanessa, she needs special support. Melissa was too stunned to speak. In her mother's eyes, was her sister the only special one? Did her efforts and success have no value? Mom, I'm accepting the director position. And Vanessa's interview will take place tomorrow. But the bank already knows about what she did in the past. What? Eleanor's voice rose. The truth always comes to light, Mom, Melissa said quietly. I'll stay at my friend's house tonight. I need some distance. Melissa hung up and headed to Jessica's house. She probably wouldn't sleep tonight either. But tomorrow is a new day. She remembered Robert's words, your career belongs to you. That evening, as Melissa lay in bed, she thought about what might happen tomorrow. Vanessa's interview. She would probably be questioned about her past misconduct. And what would happen to her relationship with her mother? But one thing was certain. She had taken back control of her life. She would no longer let anyone decide her future. My life is mine, Melissa whispered softly. And it won't be taken from me by anyone. Outside the window, the quiet night of Clarksdale stretched out. The distant lights of the farm stirred complex emotions in her heart. That farm was her roots, the place where she grew up. But now, it was also a symbol of betrayal. The day of Vanessa's interview arrived. Melissa was working as usual, but somewhere in her mind, she was aware of the clock approaching 2 p.m. At that time, her sister would be interviewing with Robert in the bank's conference room. As she was checking loan applications at her desk, her colleague Katie gently tapped her shoulder. "Look," Katie said softly. When Melissa looked up, she saw Vanessa coming out of the conference room. Gone was her usual confident expression, her face was pale, and her hands trembled slightly. She glanced at Melissa, then quickly looked away and walked briskly out of the bank. "What happened?" Katie asked. "I don't know," Melissa answered, but inwardly she could imagine. Robert must have questioned Vanessa about her past. A few minutes later, Robert came to her desk. "Melissa, can we talk?" In his office, Robert heaved a deep sigh. "The interview with your sister went, as expected." "What happened?" "I asked her about her experience at Frontier Bank. At first, she tried to cover it up, but when she realized I knew the details, her attitude suddenly changed." Robert frowned. "She became angry and shouted, 'This is Melissa's doing.'" Melissa gasped. "I didn't do anything." "Of course not. I told her that too," Robert smiled reassuringly. "But her reaction alone made it clear she wasn't a good fit for our bank. Add to that her past issues. I told her we couldn't hire her." While Melissa felt relieved, she also feared this situation would further deteriorate her family relationships. "Thank you, Robert." And then, Robert took an envelope from his desk drawer. "This is an official offer letter for you. We want to welcome you as the director of the Agricultural Loan Division." Melissa's heart filled with gratitude. Her efforts had been recognized, and her career was about to enter a new phase. That night, Melissa gathered her courage and returned to her family home. She felt a confrontation with her family was unavoidable. When she opened the front door, she heard angry voices from Eleanor and Vanessa in the living room. When she entered the room, they interrupted their conversation and directed hostile gazes at her. "You ruined everything," Vanessa stood up and confronted Melissa. "Why did you tell them about my past?" "I didn't say anything," Melissa answered calmly. "The bank has its own investigation methods." "Liar!" Vanessa shouted. "You stole my chance. You're the one who forged my resignation letter and tried to ruin my career," Melissa said, controlling her anger. "That's illegal, Vanessa." Eleanor intervened. "Enough. Both of you," she looked accusingly at Melissa. "Choosing work over family, Melissa. I'm disappointed in you." Melissa was shocked by these words. "Mom, this isn't about choosing work. This is my life. You tried to decide for me without considering my wishes. I just wanted you to take over the farm," Eleanor said. "Is that really true?" Melissa asked quietly. "Then why didn't you say so honestly? Why did you resort to underhanded tactics?" Silence filled the room. Melissa continued, "I want you to tell me the truth. Why did you do this?" Eleanor and Vanessa looked at each other. Finally, Eleanor spoke. "We were planning to sell the farm." Melissa was surprised. "Sell it? But isn't this farm our legacy that has been passed down through generations?" "It's becoming difficult to maintain," Eleanor admitted. "And we received a good offer from a real estate development company." "But what does that have to do with me leaving the bank?" Vanessa answered, "If you became director, you would review our loan application. And the farm's sale requires bank approval." Suddenly, all the pieces fit together. "So you thought if I was in that position, it would interfere with your sale plans. We thought you wouldn't be able to make a dispassionate judgment because of your emotional attachment to this farm," Eleanor said. "So you tried to push me out and send Vanessa in," Melissa said in disbelief. "You thought she would approve your plans." "We thought it was for the best," Eleanor said apologetically. Melissa took a deep breath. If you wanted to sell the farm, you could have discussed it honestly. This farm is our family legacy, and I had a right to voice my opinion. Why couldn't you do something so simple? No one answered. Melissa continued. You deceived me and tried to destroy my career. Rather than respecting me as family, you treated me as an obstacle. Her voice trembled with emotion. I can't associate with you as family anymore. Melissa, don't say that. Eleanor's face changed. You're my daughter. Have I ever been treated as a daughter? Melissa asked quietly. Have you ever celebrated my success? Have you ever respected my dreams? Eleanor was at a loss for words. I'm leaving. Melissa made her decision. To live my own life. Where are you going? Eleanor asked weakly. I'll rent an apartment in town. I'll start a new life there, Melissa answered. Regarding the farm, I'll contact you through a lawyer. I am one of the heirs to this land, after all. Melissa went upstairs to her room. As she packed only the essentials into her suitcase, her heart was a mix of sadness and a sense of liberation. The bonds with her family were deeply wounded, but she felt as if she had grasped her life in her own hands for the first time. When she finished packing, Melissa took one last look at the farm through the window. It was a familiar sight since childhood. She loved this land. But sometimes, letting go of something you love might be necessary. At least for now. Goodbye, she whispered softly. As Melissa headed for the front door, Eleanor was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. Tears welled in her eyes. Are you really leaving? Yes, Mom, Melissa answered quietly. I have my own life. And I have the right to live it. Eleanor seemed to want to say something, but swallowed her words. Melissa kissed her mother's cheek and said, goodbye. As she left the house with her suitcase, the twilight sky stretched out before her. Melissa took a deep breath. A new day would begin tomorrow. The life she had chosen was finally truly beginning. 6 months later, the town of Clarksdale was wrapped in autumn colors. Trees with red leaves swayed in the wind, announcing the harvest season. The new Agricultural Loan Division office of Clarksdale Union Bank was in a bright location facing Main Street. Inside the large glass windows, Melissa Brooks had just finished a meeting with the Farmers Association. Thank you so much, Ms. Brooks, a local farmer said, shaking her hand. Thanks to you, we should be able to smoothly transition to sustainable agriculture. Melissa smiled. It's my pleasure. Supporting the future of agriculture in this town is my job. Leaving the conference room, Melissa stood by the window, looking at the distant hills. She knew her family's farm was somewhere out there. As the head of the bank's agricultural loan division, Melissa had become a trusted advisor to local farmers. Her combination of farm-raised experience and financial knowledge was beneficial to many people. As Robert had predicted, she was performing her role admirably. Melissa, her assistant Jennifer approached her. There's a call from your mother. Melissa was somewhat surprised. Since leaving home, she had only communicated with Eleanor through lawyers. Can you put her through? She asked Jennifer. Back in her office, when she picked up the receiver, she heard Eleanor's weak voice. Melissa. What is it, Mom? I'm not feeling well, Eleanor said. I went to the doctor and was told I have heart problems. Vanessa is trying to help with the farm work, but she has no experience. The situation is getting worse. Melissa listened in silence. Complex emotions ran through her heart. I want to apologize to you, Eleanor continued. I'm sorry for trying to decide your life on my own. I've heard you're succeeding at the bank. I'm proud of you. Melissa felt tears welling in her eyes. She had never heard the words, I'm proud, from her mother before. Thank you, Mom, Melissa answered quietly. We've given up on the plan to sell the farm, Eleanor continued. Because this land is your legacy too. We were wrong. After hanging up, Melissa gazed out the window for a long time. Something was beginning to change in her heart. On the weekend, Melissa visited her family farm for the first time in a while. When she arrived at the entrance, Eleanor and Vanessa greeted her. Both were different from before. Eleanor was clearly not in good health, and Vanessa wore a tired expression. "Melissa, I'm glad you came," Eleanor embraced her daughter. "Show me the farm," Melissa said. As the three of them toured the farm, Melissa realized how bad the situation was. The equipment was aging, and the livestock weren't being properly cared for. "I'll come help on weekends," Melissa announced her decision. "Not for the family, but for the land inherited from our ancestors." Eleanor and Vanessa were filled with gratitude. They faced the consequences of their actions and apologized profusely to Melissa. "Trust isn't easily regained," Melissa said frankly. "But this farm belongs to all three of us. Let's work together to run it." Melissa decided to continue her bank job while helping at the farm on weekends. She finally understood. A true family respects each other's lives and supports one another. While living her own life, she had begun to explore a new relationship with her family. As the autumn sun set over the farm, Melissa was satisfied with her choices. You decide your own life. But that doesn't mean living in solitude. It means nurturing bonds with important people while walking your own path. Melissa was finally beginning to find that balance.